If you stumbled across this video, take a second before scrolling, because what I'm about to tell you doesn't just challenge what you think you know about family. It'll leave you wondering who you could really trust inside your own home. And before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. This story happened in Georgia, USA, but it's sending chills far beyond. The courtroom doors swing open. A teenage girl steps in, shoulders squared, a confident smile tugging at her lips. 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick. She truly believes she's walking out on bond today. Her family's behind her, her lawyers polished. The defense painting her as nothing more than a harmless kid caught in tragedy. Her father swears she's never had a violent thought. Her grandfather insists there's not a shred of proof she did it. The judge listens, calm but attentive. And then, one voice changes everything. Sarah's stepfather's sister takes a stand. Not to defend her, but to plead that Sarah should never be released. Her words slice through the silence. "My 5-year-old niece woke up to find her parents lifeless," she says, her voice trembling. The trauma that child carries can't be measured. The confident smile on Sarah's face starts to fade. 2 people are dead, and soon investigators will uncover something that makes even her family question everything they thought they knew. Because Sarah wasn't just any teen. She was a true crime fan, obsessed, some would say, and before her parents were even laid to rest, she was reaching out to true crime influencers, asking them to feature her own case. Imagine that, trying to turn your parents' murders into content. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, buckle in, because what happened in Carrollton, Georgia, on the morning of February 20th, 2025, will redefine how you see guilt, innocence, and how far obsession can twist a person. It was early, around 7:15 a.m. A 5-year-old girl wandered into her parents' bedroom. What she saw should never be seen by a child. Her mother, 41-year-old Kristen Brock, and her father, 45-year-old James Brock, were lying lifeless on the floor, blood pooling beneath them. Her screams shattered the morning quiet. Moments later, 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick rushed in. She tried to comfort the little girl, her half-sister, Jay, but nothing could calm her. Then Sarah made a call to 911. Police from Carroll County arrived within minutes. Inside, they found the couple shot multiple times, yet the house told a strange story. No broken windows, no forced entry, no struggle. Everything seemed too calm, just 2 parents killed in their sleep. Investigators immediately knew this wasn't random. Whoever did it knew the layout, the habits, the routines, someone who belonged there. But they needed proof, and fast. With both parents gone, social services had to decide where the kids would go. A family friend named Caitlin O'Keefe stepped forward. She took both Sarah and little Jay into her care. Caitlin had known Sarah's father before the divorce years earlier, so the arrangement felt familiar. At first, things seemed steady. Sarah went back to school within days, appearing calm and collected, almost too calm. Teachers noticed how composed she was, even cheerful at times. Not the reaction most expected from a teen who just lost both parents in such a horrific way. But behind that calm exterior, Sarah was already crafting something darker, a version of events that made her the center of the story. To understand what was coming, you have to go back. Sarah's mom, Kristen, had been married before. She had 2 kids from her first marriage, Sarah and her brother, before meeting James Brock. They eventually married in December 2023, forming a blended family with James's young daughter, Jay. From the outside, they looked like a happy suburban family, rebuilding their lives. But appearances can lie. James had been fighting a serious heart condition. He relied on an LVAD, a mechanical pump surgically implanted in his chest that literally kept his heart beating. Without it, he'd die. He'd nearly passed away once before in 2021, but Kristen's prayers on Facebook and his will to survive pulled him through. Everyone thought the worst was behind them. They were wrong. Court records later revealed that Kristen and James shared a rocky past. Both had battled substance abuse years earlier, a problem that cost Kristen custody of her kids for a time. They'd later found religion, joined a church called Catalyst in Carrollton, and convinced their community they'd changed. Church friends described them as reborn, devoted to faith and family. When the couple was killed, The church held a memorial. The pews were packed, tears everywhere. And then Sarah walked up to the pulpit. Her words were moving, too moving, maybe. "I never thought I'd have to say goodbye this way," she said calmly. "I know your hearts are healed in heaven now." But she didn't cry. Not once. Her tone was flat, rehearsed, more like performance in grief. Some in the congregation whispered about it later. Others defended her. Everyone mourns differently, right? But weeks later, investigators found something that erased all doubt. Sarah had been messaging dozens of true crime influencers, not as a victim's daughter, but as someone pitching a story. "Hey," one message read, "would you cover my parents' murder case? It's really interesting. I think your audience would love it. Super interesting." That's how she described the deaths of the people who raised her. When one influencer received that message, they were disturbed. They took screenshots, contacted police, and investigators soon realized Sarah had reached out to multiple creators on TikTok, Instagram, even YouTube, all with nearly identical wording. She'd even formatted the messages like a PR pitch. Prosecutors later said this wasn't grief. It was strategy. Sarah was trying to control her image, shape the narrative before anyone could suspect her. Investigators dug deeper. They examined every detail that morning, every message, every movement. Sarah told police she'd been asleep all night, that she only woke up when her little sister screamed. But one detail shattered that story. Remember that LVAD heart device? According to Sarah's own statement, she heard its alarm going off around 11:45 p.m., a loud, blaring sound designed to wake anyone in the house because it means the patient's life is in danger. She heard it. She even told police she did. But she didn't check on her stepfather, didn't wake her mom, didn't call for help. She just went back to sleep. Let that sink in. She heard that alarm, but somehow didn't hear multiple gunshots that followed. The defense would later argue she was in deep sleep, that teenagers can sleep through anything. But the prosecution saw it differently. They believed she knew exactly what was happening, because she was the one pulling the trigger. Forensics began to fill in the blanks. Blood spatter showed both victims were shot at close range while they slept, no defensive wounds, no signs of struggle. Whoever did it stood over them. Cold, calm, methodical. Neighbors said they hadn't heard gunfire that night. One thought they heard fireworks around midnight, but this was rural Georgia. People shoot fireworks all the time. No one suspected a thing. For months later, on July 8, 2025, Sarah turned herself in. 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, charged as an adult. Her mugshot, calm, expressionless, hit the news. The community was stunned. How could this quiet church girl have done something so monstrous? But the answer might have been hiding in her phone all along. Digital forensics experts tore through her devices. Her phone, laptop, tablet. Deleted files were recovered, every search, every message preserved. And what they found painted a haunting picture. Searches like, how to hide a gun. Can police match bullets without the gun? How long does it take for police to get phone data? Those weren't random. They were made weeks before the murders. There were also texts, messages of friends full of rage. I hate them. I can't wait until they're gone. They don't deserve to be parents. The more investigators looked, the clearer it became. Sarah hadn't just lost control. She'd been planning. The gun was never found. Police scoured every inch of the property, drained ponds, used cadaver dogs. Nothing. They believed she ditched it somewhere far from home, maybe handed it off to someone else. And yet, despite missing the weapon, they had more than enough to move forward. By the time the bond hearing came around, Sarah was ready. She entered smiling, confident. She believed she was going home. Her lawyers presented glowing character letters from teachers, friends, even her pastor. One of them, Pastor Ben Bonner, described her as a devoted church member, baptized, faithful, even calling from jail to pray. If released, he said, our church will support her fully. Caitlin O'Keefe, who'd housed Sarah after murders, told the court she'd never seen any aggression from her. She's easy, she said, kind, helps around the house. No problems at all. For a moment, it seemed like the judge might agree. But then The prosecution called as witness. And that's when everything changed. The courtroom quiets as the prosecution's witness walks to the stand. It's Amanda Patrick, Sarah's aunt, her stepfather's sister. The look on her face says everything before she even speaks. She takes a deep breath. "I love Sarah," she begins, voice breaking. "But what she's done, or what she's accused of doing, destroyed everything. My brother, my sister-in-law, my niece will never forget what she saw. I can't stand here and ask for Sarah to walk free when two people are gone forever." The words hang heavy in the room. Even Sarah, who'd kept that calm, steady expression to the whole hearing, looks shaken for the first time. Her confident half-smile disappears. Her eyes drop. The energy shifts completely. Amanda continues, her hands trembling. That little girl, 5 years old, woke up to her parents dead on the floor. She ran to find help, screaming. Those screams will haunt this family forever. That's what this bond hearing is about. Not convenience, not comfort. It's about the safety of the only child left who still remembers that night. The judge listens quietly, eyes fixed on Sarah. The defense objects, emotional appeal, they argue. But it's too late. The damage is done. The courtroom can feel it. When it's the prosecution's turn to speak, the tone hardens. "Your Honor," the DA begins, the defendant's behavior after the murder shows not grief, but self-promotion. Within days of the killings, she was contacting social media influencers, pitching her story like a movie. She described her parents' murders as interesting. She called the case content. That's not mourning. That's manipulation. The camera clicks echo through the courtroom. The DA turns to Sarah, his voice low and steady. She wants to control the story. But the story's already written in blood. It's a moment no one forgets. The judge finally speaks. "I've reviewed the evidence, and I've heard from both sides. The charges are serious, the circumstances disturbing. I cannot, in good conscience, grant bond." A pause. Then, "Bond denied." The room erupts in whispers. Sarah's lips tremble, but she doesn't cry. She just stares forward, blank, as deputies move closer. Her lawyer leans in to whisper something, but she doesn't react. As she's led away, she turns once toward the gallery. Cameras flash, one moment, one image. A face that still doesn't seem to understand what it's done. That should have been the end of it. But the internet, as always, wasn't done. Within hours of her arrest, true crime TikTok and YouTube lit up. Comment sections flooded with theories. She's innocent. She's a sociopath. She just wanted fame. Clips of Sarah's old videos resurfaced. School projects, selfies, even church event footage. Some users pointed out how she smiled during her parents' memorial. Others said the whole thing was being twisted by the media. But one detail stood out above all: the messages she sent to influencers. One of the creators she reached out to, a woman who runs a mid-sized true crime channel, went public about it. She said Sarah's tone was unnerving, like she was pitching a collaboration. She talked about her parents' deaths the same way a PR rep would describe a Netflix series. The influencer said. She even used hashtags. That message became key evidence, because it showed premeditation not just in the act, but in the aftermath. To investigators, that message said one thing. She knew exactly how the story would look, and she wanted to own it. The prosecution built its case around that idea, that Sarah Grace Patrick didn't just kill her parents. She killed them for attention. Psychologists call it narrative control. It's when someone tries to rewrite reality to make themselves a hero or the victim, whichever suits them best. In Sarah's case, it looked like she was trying to be both. Prosecutors revealed more messages. In one, she said, "I feel like people finally see me." Another read, "They always thought they were better than me. Not anymore." And maybe the most chilling line, "I can't believe how big the story's getting." It's a line that, once heard, you can't unhear. But let's zoom out for a second, because behind all this darkness is a story that hits deeper than one crime. It's about the growing obsession with being seen. In the age of social media, where every tragedy becomes a post, a clip, or a comment thread, Sarah's case feels like a horrifying reflection of our times. A teenager who grew up watching true crime content. The stories, the headlines, the fame, and somehow decided she wanted in on it. Except this time it wasn't fiction. This time, 2 people actually died, and a 5-year-old girl will carry that memory forever. As of today, Sarah Grace Patrick remained behind bars in Carroll County Jail, charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She's being tried as an adult. Her trial date hasn't been set yet, but prosecutors say they'll push for life in prison. Her defense insists she's innocent, claiming investigators rushed to judgment and ignored other possible suspects. They argue there's no murder weapon, no eyewitness, no physical proof tying her to the trigger. Just circumstantial noise, as they call it. But juries don't forget text messages. They don't forget tone. They don't forget that word. Interesting. And maybe that's a part that will haunt this case forever. Was this the act of a cold, calculating killer? Or a teenager so desperate for validation that she mistook tragedy for relevance? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Was Sarah Grace Patrick driven by fame, by anger, or something darker we can't yet name? Because in the end, the truth doesn't just lie in what she did, but why. And if this story taught us anything, it's that sometimes the monsters we fear most aren't hiding in the shadows. They're sitting across the dinner table. So before you go, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you want more true crime stories like this one. Because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that start home.